everybody. Welcome to our first live hardware demo on Automation Ladies. I'm very excited here to do our first edition of this. With that in mind, like everything that we try to do and start to do, we are not experts. As you can, if you've seen us before, you know kind of our deal. We are just trying to get content out there. We have other jobs, other things we're good at. This is not one of them, but we are learning. And if you've never seen us before, welcome to Automation Ladies. Thank you for joining us. The name, you might think that there would be more of us ladies. There will be. So we are actually all, for a change, going to be together here in Southern California this week. I landed early this morning at 7 a.m. and because of the time difference, I didn't actually realize that we would be doing this live right when Allie is landing at LAX. So Courtney went to go pick her up and they will join us from the car once they get a chance to get situated somewhere. But as we promised with Automation Ladies, you get at least one of us so we can run the show. It's not always going to be the same person, but that's okay. You know, we roll with the punches. So today we have our special guest and very brave guinea pig, Chris Udy, with us, the product owner and manager of the SHARC product that we're going to take a look at today. And he very graciously agreed to be the first person to give us a hardware demo. So please welcome Chris. And I think we have a couple of his, if not at least one of his colleagues in the chat. He'll be there to answer any questions that we don't get to on the show. And if you don't know about what we're trying to do with these demos, really, my reason for wanting to do hardware and software, just product demos on Automation Ladies in general, is that I've been frustrated myself in the past sometimes when I'm interested in something, but maybe I'm not the prospect that's ready to buy. And a lot of the technology in our industry is pretty gated in terms of who gets to demo it, who gets to see it, that sort of stuff. And I understand salespeople don't want to waste their time with prospects that aren't ready to buy. But there's a whole lot of reasons why it's great to learn about what's out there, even if you're not ready to buy it. So that's really the point of the demo days, the live demos, is just to get some of this information out there for anybody in the industry, in our network, to get to see what's out there, what's cool. And then if you want to buy it, it will be easy for you. If you don't want to buy it, then at least you know what it is, and you can think about it next time you have an application. So we ask our guests that do the demo to give us a sales pitch, give us the demo. But we want somebody that knows about the product enough to speak to why they made it, what does it do, why does it do it, and be able to just have a conversation about the product in addition to giving us a little bit of a pitch and a demo. And I thought Chris would be the perfect person to kick this off. We met on LinkedIn, like so many of our community. And I thought that the product that they've come up with, SHARC, is really cool. And I also personally just love the idea of practitioners, systems integrators, consultants, people that have been out there in those plants, coming up with products that solve their own problems. We have a lot of products. We have a lot of great vendors in our space that develop products in a lab, or, they have great R&D departments and things like that, and they tend to solve the biggest problems. But then some of us that are implementing often have these little bitty problems that maybe aren't worth the big companies to solve, but we see this need time and time again. And I think this is one of those products. But I'll let Chris speak to that a little bit more. So if you're here, if you've joined us, thank you. I would love to see you in the comments. Tell us where you're joining from. Hey, Richard, thank you so much for joining us from Mississippi.
Hey, Richard.
We've got Amani from Kigali. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Oh, we've got Luis from Querétaro, Mexico. Thank you. Hola. Shaheen, I'm not sure where you're coming from, but thanks for joining us. And then we have the other Chris. Hi, Chris. Thank you for coming here for moral support and probably some, questions and that sort of stuff. So yeah, Chris, I'll turn it over to you. Do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction of yourself and kind of what the heck you're doing with this stuff? Why are we talking about the SHARC today?
So I'm Chris Udy. I work with Mr. IoT. I've been here for 2.5 years. My colleague and founder of Mr. IoT, we go back quite a ways. We came from an industrial manufacturer that made tier one automotive products, and we came from a business systems background. So we were IT, but more on the business system integration and code and database. And but we love to be out on the shop floor. So we spent a lot of time out with the users as we made updates. Getting their feedback, and we just enjoy being on the floor and doing manufacturing. So Chris went off and started his own business and brought me on a couple years later, and we were doing integrations, and it just got a little too complicated. We're not controls engineers. Like I said, we have an IT background, but we knew we had what it took to come up with a product that could help us make our job easier when it came to integrations. So we came up with the SHARC, and now here we are.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about those applications that you guys were integrating?
I can. Would you mind if we jumped into the slide? Uh,
No, no, I don't. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this up
I
on the
rehearsed
slide
this about 1,000 times, so let's see if I get this right now. All right, who is Mr. IoT? We're a manufacturing software and system integrators. The team is Chris Meester, our founder, myself, product owner and manager, and our developer, Nick Amenda, who's basically whatever you want me to do, which is what he says all the time.
All right.
What we do, we help manufacturing companies with business system integrations, digital transformation, machine connectivity, data collection, labeling, R&D projects. We're problem solvers. Our resources, what we do have is a very particular set of skills that we have acquired over a very long career, skills that make us a savior for companies like yours. That was a taken quote, if you don't know that. So what is a SHARC? What problem does it solve? The SHARC is a simple hardware adapter for remote communication. It's basically an IoT sensor adapter. We wanted to create a product for Industry 4.0 that is simple and accessible. So we designed the SHARC to reduce the complexity required in Industry 4.0 projects from conception to implementation. It's great for digitizing legacy machines. R&D projects can see faster ROI and reduces friction between IT and OT, which if you are a system integrator, you've seen that. So Industry 4.0 for dummies? I think so. And all these questions were literally questions that I asked myself when we first came into actually starting to connect sensors and different hardware in the industry. We didn't know what we were really doing at the time.
Okay.
So like I have a photoelectric sensor that is PNP. How do I wire that? I mean, I didn't even know what PNP stood for. Is it sourcing or syncing? Somebody would ask, and I don't know. I don't know how to read a meter or a wiring diagram to know if I'm wiring this correctly. I mean, I do now. Why do I have to have so many pieces of hardware just to get the signal from my sensor into my software? And I have to wire this into a Modbus hardware. The manual for that is how many pages? So just some issues that we ran into, right?
Yeah.
So the SHARC, one size fits all, one piece of hardware powered by PoE. My GIF isn't working. And
Oh no. Okay.
one input, 4 input types. So we have discrete PNP, discrete NPN, analog 4 to 20 milliamps, and analog 0 to 10 volts. And the SHARC can connect to any device that outputs any one of these. This could mean tapping a signal from a controls cabinet, which we have done. So here we have a SHARC, we have in a cabinet. This was a corrugated box machine, and we just wanted to get the part count. Instead of adding our own sensor somewhere, we just tapped the existing sensor on that machine and then pushed that through Node-RED. We pushed it into our DB, and then we moved that into our business logic. And then on the right, you can see a Grafana dashboard that shows utilization, and we derived part count and utilization from that one sensor.
That's actually really cool. Just coming from everything seems to be configurable in our industry. And the part numbers, there's so many variations. And then if you get the wrong variation, one might be in stock, one might not be. It's very uncommon to see a one size fits all kind of device where you don't have to have, a different part number for the NPN or for the analog signal or whatever.
Right. I mean, that actually has come up. I'll take that as another talking point. Is people send us regularly, "Hey, is this a competitor?" or "Hey, have you seen this?" And we go and look at it, and what we see is that there doesn't seem to be a one part number
Yeah.
for an IoT type device like the Shark to connect to a sensor that covers all four in one. Like you have to have a model for the discrete, and then you have to have a model for the analog.
Yeah.
So we kind of pride ourselves on that as well.
Cool.
Here are some of the sensors that we've connected and tested. So we have some photoelectric, dust sensors, temperature sensors, rotary encoders, linear encoders. I mean, because they're just outputting. If we're just looking at just the ticks per revolution, and not trying to look at your which direction, then we can just capture the ticks, and then from that we can derive so many different metrics.
Yeah, I've got a question here from David Turner, our friend over at Process and Controls Specialist. If I got that right, sorry, David, if I screwed it up. What about a dry contact relay? He asks.
I I will be mentioning something at the end of this slide, kind of talking about our roadmap. Currently, we do not have an output on the Shark. It's strictly input. Think of it as like a data diode. It's one
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have some plans that I'll share at the end of this presentation, which I don't have a whole lot further left to go.
Sounds
Um,
great.
so this was the typical infrastructure that we found ourselves working with. And on the bottom, you have your sensors. And then between the sensors up to the top, where you're taking that data, or creating data or information off of that, there were just so many different layers. And, we actually worked with sort of in the industrial wireless area with the DX80 into the hub and up towards the top of that. And from there, we were doing Modbus, TCP into that. And again, that was like the manual for that to figure out how to get the information off that we needed. It was Modbus was new to us. We didn't understand it. We know more now, but we didn't know what we were doing. So it made our project very difficult. So this is kind of the concept that happened, and my slide wants to do it that way. Okay. So we wanted to make it simpler. So what we do is we roll up all those other layers, we believe, into the Shark. So we take the connect, convert, network, distribute, and we roll it into the Shark. And we make it simpler. So, and then to make it accessible, we believe we're making it most accessible through networking and MQTT. Using network principles and power over Ethernet, we provide unsurpassed troubleshooting capabilities while powering the Shark and sensor, where you go and troubleshoot this. This was hard to troubleshoot, sometimes an absolute nightmare. And then we also make it accessible by using MQTT, which maybe not everybody knows what this is. It's designed as an extremely lightweight publish subscribe messaging transport that is ideal for connecting remote devices with a small code footprint and minimal network bandwidth. The point of it is publish subscribe. So basically, we're turning the Shark into a publish subscribe device. Steps to connect the Shark. I like to say it's as easy as an IoT light bulb.
Okay.
On the Shark, there's a switch inside the Shark. You have to select the sensor type selector switch. So whether you're using PNP, NPN, 4 to 20 milliamp analog, or analog 0 to 10 volts. Once you select that, you can connect your sensor. Again, my GIF isn't working, but you can go to my site and see my GIF.
We'll post
Connect.
links to the GIF in the chat afterwards. How about that? Or the other Chris, if you have the links handy, you can post them for us.
You connect the sensor to the Shark. You connect PoE to the Shark, and then you can connect to the Shark over Bluetooth when you're initially setting it up, and Bluetooth from our iPhone app that we have, Shark Studio, or from our web app that's at Shark Tech, and I'll talk about that too.
Okay.
And then you configure the sensor type once you're inside our software, and so you configure the NPN or the PNP, the different modes, depending on what you've selected. Then you point to an MQTT broker, like we have one in the cloud, or you can point one to internal, or if you have a system that has it already, then you point it to that and you can start bringing it into your system. You save and reboot in the MQTT mode. Now, I'm going to demo the setup. If there's any questions that you want to come out now.
Yeah, so we have, let's see, some here from another one from the audience. How is the polling time on the SHARC? Is it configurable? Thank you, Mark. Great question.
The polling time, Chris, I'm going to let you jump in on that.
Okay, Chris will jump in the comments and answer that question.
Because the polling, it pushes it out. Drop my device. It pushes it out unless you set it to a different kind of mode for the discrete. So if you set it to accumulation, you can set a time period that, you know, all this information happens within a second. At a second, send me that, and then it'll do that every second. So
cool. We have David Garcia, our friend from ICOM Tech. Would love to hear about the diagnostics that are available for sure. This is cool. Yeah, it is very cool.
all right,
And
so and I will get to that because I have to configure this. So and I'll show off a little bit of the interface. So I'm going to take this SHARC. I plugged in a Q4X banner sensor and one end of the SHARC. Hi Courtney.
should I make should I make you the big screen now, Chris, or do we want to keep the slides?
Oh
or
yeah.
add your
Let's make me the big screen for a moment.
Okay, let's do that. I'm gonna remove this. Let's see. Oh, now I'm on the big screen. There we go.
There we go.
And hello, Courtney.
Hello. Made it to LAX.
All right.
So we have the Q4X sensor, and I mean, it's the cable to the SHARC. I'm plugging it into the M12 on the SHARC, and I'm taking my network cable here. This is a PoE cable. I'm plugging it into the SHARC. Our status light comes on. It's booting up right now. Red, it means it's trying to connect to a broker. I'm gonna actually reset it because I want to do this into Bluetooth mode for this demo. So I hold it until the light goes off, and now it's resetting into Bluetooth. If you press and hold our user button, it'll reboot it into the other mode, is how it works. So now it's in Bluetooth mode, and this light blue light means that it's ready for a Bluetooth connection. Now, if you can share my screen, I'm going to pull up SHARC Studio in the web browser. So using a Chrome browser, I can now select Bluetooth. I'm going to go to this device, which is 2FC8. It is this one. I'm going to pair. And again, you can do this through our SHARC.tech, which is in the cloud. We also have a way to pull SHARC.tech and run it locally if you don't want to have it in the cloud. So we have a Docker container for that. And basically the same interface for the iPhone app. So now that I'm in here, you can see the light change to a darker blue. I'm going to go to the sensor, and for PNP, we have switch, counter, and accumulator modes. And I'm going to set the edge to rising, and the period of this is 1000 milliseconds. So as you see on the tooltip, this defines how long the accumulator should count for in milliseconds before it publishes its data. And then you would click update. You would click update. And then you would go to the broker. Here's where you could point it to your MQTT broker and port. You could use username, password. I'll update. And then I'm going to save and reboot into MQTT mode. So now what's going to happen if you want to make me the stage again, center stage.
Okay, let's try and figure this out.
So the red light means it hasn't connected to the broker yet. Now it's green, it has connected to the broker. So we know that this setup is now ready for production.
Okay.
So just like that now, it's already publishing its data into MQTT, which we can use. Let me go back to my slide.
So Courtney, I think one of the things you missed that anyway, what I kind of commented on earlier is this is a one size fits all type device. It can handle both discrete sensors and like 40 20
Analog.
milliamp signals, PNP or NPN. You can there isn't like a different part number that you need. You can set it up for any one of those.
Nice.
So if you can real quickly go to the slide show again. So on the slideshow, we see, so what happens in MQTT mode? We're publishing a topic. Our topic is SHARC, the SHARC ID, which is the serial number, event IO, and then the sensor name to get the data. And the sensor name is, we have S0, S1, S2, S3. And those are like the positions of the sensor type selector switch. S0 is PNP, 1 is NPN, 2 is 0 to 10 volts and analog 0 to 10 volts, and 3 is 4 to 20 milliamps. So if you can see in that, I don't know, you can kind of see how it comes in, but that's okay because I'm going to demo it here anyway. We're going to go into MQTT. I have MQTT Explorer. If you can go to my screen share.
Yeah. Let's see. Should I let me do it this way?
Yep.
Nice.
So in my screen share, so here we see in our cloud broker, all these SHARCs are part of our cloud broker up here. So you can see which ones are regularly updating. This one right now, I mean, right through the MQTT Explorer, you can start seeing the signal going up and down. And this is on an encoder that's up on the desk there that I'll show in just a moment. That's going up and down. It's ramping the voltage on that encoder so that we see some nice data there. And then we could also go to, let's see, 2B4, 2B34. This is part of our test bench, and this one is just showing a part count, basically. It's showing a count. So, so right now this count is up to 46,032. And then we have, we have an electric panel with a current sensor in it. So it's going straight into our office electric panel. 2B80, this one. So here we can see our current consumption here in our office. I think that's all I really have to show. I can show some of the other ones that are changing, but I mean, just that quickly we can see the information and we can see what it looks like over time as well. Slide 17, we'll talk about the SHARC. So let me bring over SHARC Tech. Can I answer another question for somebody that was asking? So now I can go into MQTT mode. I can connect to our broker, and I can see all these SHARCs. Something else that we can do. Let's go to the encoder 2B78. From here, I can also see this information live from in here as well. And in our Bluetooth app or in our iPhone app, you can also see this. And you can see this through Bluetooth. That's the other cool thing. So if you use our app or you use SHARC.tech, you can see the signal information over Bluetooth.
What's the application or the advantage of being able to do it over Bluetooth? Like what?
Well, we found is more in troubleshooting. You know, is there a problem with the connection to the broker? Is there a problem with it coming out of, you know, is it the sensor? We can just connect to it right away from Bluetooth and see what's going on. But maybe the network's not up yet and we're waiting on that, but we can at least test that the SHARC is configured correctly and we can see a part count or whatever going across a machine.
Cool.
And this is so we have aggregation on or aggregation off. Aggregation on basically means when it sends the payload, it'll send all of the channels. So S0, S1, S2, and S3 all at the same time in the payload. If you turn that off, it'll only send the one channel in the payload. So if it's S0, it'll only send that. The calibrate and convert, I think these are still kind of a work in progress. Here's our 0 to 10 analog input configuration properties, our 4 to 20 properties. We also have some ways, we have our OTA firmware update that we've been working on.
Okay.
And at this time, it's working out pretty good, so we can update our firmware. Somebody's phone's ringing. And then the next slide was the demo, our work in progress. Yeah, we have another platform, and that platform, I know we only got 4 minutes. We're trying to be fast.
What? No, we're fine. We'll take we can take up to an hour for this thing.
Okay.
But did I tell you 30 minutes? No, we talk for 30 minutes before we get started on the demo, which is why the demo is 30 minutes.
Okay.
You're good. You've got time.
Okay. We're working on, let me, can you pull up the slide before I do this? That actually makes more sense to do this slide. So let's talk about the roadmap, and then I'll go into what I just started to show. So our roadmap for 2024, we get at the price point, and you'll have to buy a SHARC for each metric you want to collect. And we've had people approach us and be like, okay, well, if I want to get OEE, then I need at least 3 SHARCs. Our good part, our bad part, and our availability.
Mm-hmm.
So to come up with that, you'd have to have 3 SHARCs. So we've heard our customers and the people that are interested, and so we are working on a multiple input SHARC this year. So we're working on what we call our 4-headed SHARC, and that'll have 4 M12 connectors, each configurable in the same manner as the single input is now. So all 4 inputs, you can have them all be discrete PNP, or you could do one for each input type, each sensor input type, and all with one part number, all with one SHARC. So we think that's, again, another a pretty big deal. We're going to have software controlled selection of the input type as well. Instead of having to go in and stick a screwdriver inside the SHARC and switch a switch, it's going to be software controlled. We're going to do some power supply improvements, and we also have the software platform that I'm about to show, where we're going to have a cloud-based fleet management, automatic SHARC configuration based on sensor model, and tenant and user configurations, where a user can adopt SHARCs into their tenant, and then they can create a metric, like a little panel, and create that metric, and then be able to share that metric within their organization as well with other users. And then kind of a big one for us is going to be going to a serial input type.
Okay. Yep.
So that we can take in Modbus and other serial protocols and really kind of open up the capabilities of the SHARC. And then we're also going to be enabling an output pin. So if you do need to activate a dry contact or something like that, there will be the ability. So that's our roadmap for 2024. It's a very aggressive roadmap for 3 to 4 guys here, but that's what we're looking to do.
Pretty cool. We got a little bit of feedback here from Joshua. 4 inputs is a good delineation size, not too big, but big enough to handle probably 90% of use cases.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, do you charge for the software separately, or is it just a one-time purchase of the SHARC?
Right now we don't have the cloud software platform for like the fleet management and so on. So right now the configuration software is, it's not, we don't charge for that. So like it's shark.tech or for the iPhone app. I mean, you have to have that to set up the SHARC.
Yeah.
So we're not going to charge for that. When we do come up with this platform, we are going to be looking at some sort of licensing model, annual or something, to support, uh, further development on this platform.
Yeah.
Try to make it. We want to make it match the SHARC. See, we think the SHARC is simple and
Mhm.
accessible, and you don't have to think about, Sorry, I'm gonna jump back. So one of the big things when we came up with the SHARC was we didn't know if the sensor was PNP, NPN, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So when we plugged it in, and when you had to wire something, so then you had to understand how to wire it as well. We didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
So the simplicity from myself is being able to look at it and see, is it PNP or NPN,
Mhm.
and then just plug it in, and then tell the SHARC it's an NPN sensor, and then there's no thought involved.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and that's the way that I want the software platform to be as well. Like as simple and as intuitive as possible, without having to be a controls engineer or an electrical engineer. You can be a blue collar guy on the shop floor, and you can plug in, a sensor, a SHARC, and be off to the races.
Yeah, no, this is really cool. This reminds me actually, so I was in Plano, Texas last week for a training with Josh Varghese at Traceroute.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and he actually did a demo of a NAT appliance that they're building. And one of the reasons why they decided to do that is because the configuration for all these different vendor, they're all very different and they seem to be complicated. And a lot of people they don't necessarily need they shouldn't need consultation to set it up, but the interfaces are just not intuitive. And they're all different. And so he really and Josh, sorry if I'm butchering this. We have to have you come on and do a demo of it and you can explain it yourself, but the gist I got from it was that they really wanted to build something that was very intuitive for the user, for the end user to do themselves. So they didn't have to call up and get charged, all the money just to have somebody figure out how to walk you through setting it up, when really it should be the software's job to kind of
right,
do it for you or lead you in the right direction.
right, right.
And user friendliness, I think, is
Very
huge,
important. Yeah,
very important. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's a great way, I'd say, too, to anybody watching this right now. The SHARC is new; it's a new product, right? Get in on the ground floor of this. There isn't a barrier to entry. You can buy one. The cost is not high. You don't have to pay for any licensing. Get to know these guys, and if this is something that is of interest, it always helps to be an early adopter, both to be able to get your feedback into the product. But then, oftentimes there may be grandfather deals, things like that. Like when you come in early and you're an enthusiastic supporter and adopter of a new technology. And in this case, this is not like, oh, it's a brand new SCADA that I'm going to risk my whole plant on, trying something that's untested or new, right? This is a simple appliance with a simple, or I don't know if simple is the right word, but a straightforward task, right?
right.
So that's kind of my 2 cents on something new like this, especially when it's so easy to get started with, it's so easy to buy. Um,
And you're not going to
get
step
one
on
and try it, right?
you shouldn't be stepping on anybody's toes either trying to do this. So,
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe next time I'll have to review slides. We love Banner over here as well, and I actually do want to talk about their Snap Signal portfolio at some point. But the truth is, there are so many different technologies in our industry, and there are so many different flavors of things, and oftentimes, there are not everything is a fit for every application, and
right,
oftentimes you can kind of marry these solutions together to come up with what is correct for the customer, the application, the problem at hand.
right,
And so we
right,
love to see how can we work, because the reality is every plant out there that wasn't built recently has a hodgepodge mixture of stuff out there, right? New machines, old machines. You may have an overlay of a great, SCADA or something that you've been able to kind of marry everything into. But I think the majority of small to medium sized manufacturers don't have that homogeneity of technology in their plant. Would you?
And I think
That's correct.
this gives manufacturers and integrators, more choices when it
Yeah.
comes to how do I want to integrate this machine. I mean, you can go on a machine and connect to the machine and get 100 data points, but I mean, do you really need 100 data points? What are you going to do with 100 data points? So for some situations, it might just make more sense if they're saying they just want one or two um, data outputs from the machine to hook up a SHARC, find those in the cabinet, tap those in the cabinet, and bring those into your system through MQTT.
Yeah. And I think we're going to be talking a bit more about this kind of stuff this year as well. I've been wanting to demo this CoreFlex MQTT broker platform for a while, and starting to make more friends in this area. It's not my area of expertise, right? I come from machine vision and motion and handling the industry 4.0 stuff, and SCADA is more. It's too bad that Allie is probably still on her plane or getting off of it at the moment, or maybe she's in the baggage claim. Who knows? But that is more her forte. But if she doesn't jump on before we finish this, I'm sure she'll take a look at the recording. And there'll be plenty of people too that registered for this that aren't watching it live. As we all know, we have, busy days. Yes, a recording of this presentation, it won't be made, just this particular link that you're on right now. You can come back to it anytime and watch the full recording after the fact. These things live on LinkedIn after they've been done live. And this is also now on YouTube, Automation Ladies YouTube channel. You can come back and watch this anytime. So share it with colleagues, friends, come back to it later. It will exist and anybody can watch it. So I don't know who you are, LinkedIn user, because LinkedIn, or there's a selection somewhere in your profile or settings that says don't, show my name. If I know you, hi. If I don't, thank you for commenting and asking about that.
Nikki, do I have a minute to show the work in progress?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got plenty of time. We have about 20 minutes left or so before I think I start to get antsy.
Okay.
So which one do you want me to bring to the screen now?
My screen share.
This one. There we go.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, this is our work in progress that we're going to be. We hope this year to have our cloud platform where we have the SHARCs, the configuration that's in shark.tech will move into here. We'll have the live charts in here as well. Right now there's a different database in the back end of this platform that's being used. So like the electric panel 2V80. So this should show. All right, so there's our electric panel again, the current sensor in our electric panel. So that's our current being used right now. Looks like every time I talk, it goes up. And then I think, was there?
Yay,
Oh.
I love this. David, guys, make friends with each other in the comments. Network with each other. There is so much more we can do together as a community. So David Garcia says hi to Arlen Nipper. I know earlier.
Oh, Arlen's on here?
Arlen gave us a nice thumbs up earlier.
Oh, thank you.
So my apologies for not inserting it right at the time. I now don't remember exactly what he was saying nice about, but yeah.
Can you now share my video? I think I have it on.
Oh. Yes. Let me see. I will make that the big one. Let's do this. There we go.
Is it up there?
Yep.
Okay, so here we just laid out some sensors, right? So we have, the banner, Q4X, radar sensor that we're using on a project in Florida. This is actually, I bought this to do some testing. It's connected to like my garden hose, and I can measure the flow. There's a formula, and that's another thing. You can put in a formula for some of these
Okay.
inputs, so that you can apply that formula from the SHARC, and the SHARC will do the calculation and
Oh,
push it out over MQTT.
okay.
I think this is a temperature sensor, uh, this is a compressor sensor, bunch of different sensors. In here we call this the frenzy. We have 3 SHARCs, and you could do, and this is like an OEE kit, I guess you could say, right? So you have
Okay.
3 SHARCs, and then inside of here we have a microtick router, and we've come to find that this really helps us deliver more from one PoE line. So if you can see this, I have one power over Ethernet line coming into this box that powers our microtick router, and that powers, there's a small IPC, industrial PC in here, and the 3 SHARCs. And inside of that industrial PC, we have a stack of Docker containers with like Node-RED, Postgres, Grafana, and some other things in there. So this would literally be everything that you would need to get started. And then we have a test bench where we actually test all the SHARCs before we send them out. So we put them through their paces, we print a label, and put that label in the box with the SHARC and send it out.
So people could really buy the SHARC and use it on their own, or they can work with you to put together something, or have you, integrate and give them something on top of that, right?
Right, that's
But
correct.
do you sell this as a kit, like with the part number, or is it kind of configured for each client, whatever they need?
We've configured it for 2 different clients and sold it and configured it as they needed.
Mhm.
It's pretty much, it could be a part number. I haven't put it up. It is on the website. I haven't exposed it publicly yet.
Okay.
But it has the whole stack on it where you could just be off to the races and connect to that industrial PC and see your metrics in Grafana.
Yeah, I think in some cases it would be great to just buy it like that as a box ready to go.
Right.
I want to bring up also a question from earlier that Chris, Mr. answered, but just in case somebody else wants to know. So you mentioned the power over Ethernet. Is it strictly power over Ethernet, or can we have it hooked up to power distribution? And it looks like, yes, you can do PoE. You can also use a T connector to get power from a 24-volt DC
Oh,
power supply.
yeah. That
would
reminds
still
me.
allow you to use wired Ethernet or Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and that reminds me. Let me go back to the table over there. So if you did want to tap, let's say, an existing sensor, or you wanted to use Wi-Fi. So if you tap an existing sensor using something like these Y adapter cables, or that one of the T adapters, this SHARC is powered. You can see it's powered up, right? Or not the SHARC, this Q4X is powered. I could take a SHARC and I could plug the SHARC in, and you can see the lights are coming on. I know this camera isn't great, but
No,
so this one's ready, and I could connect to this. I could configure the Wi-Fi, and now I could connect over Wi-Fi, and I could tap an existing sensor if I wanted to do that.
Okay.
And yes, you could use a PoE injector or something similar, as long as the voltage meets what the SHARC requires, which is 24 volts. I'm looking at my team as I'm saying that. Nobody's answering me.
I'm just thinking there was somebody in my network like 2-3 weeks ago that was asking about something that this probably solved the problem. I just didn't know it at the time. They were looking for a way to just publish out information from a sensor, or maybe a vibration sensor, or a predictive maintenance type sensor, but something that didn't require you to publish to that vendor's platform,
Right.
software-wise, subscribe to it, that sort of thing. They just wanted, what hardware can I buy that I can put on my machine and get the signal out? And
I,
I think if I had known this 2 weeks ago, I would have linked right to the SHARC,
I,
right?
you're right. And this is where my colleague would probably want me to mention that. I mean, we did try to design this to be agnostic because we don't we don't want to lock you into our products, and
Yeah,
nobody wants to be locked into a vendor's products because then transitioning to a newer or better or um, whatever product, then
yeah,
it's more difficult, right? So if you use something more agnostic, going into MQTT and then pushing the MQTT into however you want to consume it,
right.
um, it just leaves more opportunity, more openings.
Yeah, I think MQTT is great as a protocol for that. You know, there are so many ways that you can use it with multiple different vendors. I Our very first demo that we did on Automation Ladies, probably like a year ago now, was of Clarify, which is those guys were from Norway. They also were doing the work and then decided to develop a platform to facilitate their own work. But they developed a web-based platform for started with time series data in particular, like this type of data, right? Then,
Hmm.
but their whole take on it was that it's a collaborative platform so that management and everyone else above can see something, but then also the people that are literally on the floor, whether it's the maintenance or people that come to troubleshoot, they can actually add context to the data in adding their own comments, adding pictures, adding explanations, because often when we look at this kind of data in hindsight, if we don't know what was happening on the floor at the time, or external factors, things like that, sometimes you see the data and it's hard to correlate what is going on. Um, and the demo that they did, there was data coming in, but there was nothing showing like where is the data coming from? How do you actually prep the data to get in there? Um, and obviously there it depends on the customer. How are they collecting data? But this would be a perfect example too of like being able to, you can use a SHARC and you can use the Clarify platform. All of it is very low barrier to entry to try. Do a pilot project on your own, test it out, figure
Right,
out if
right.
there's value there. I saw a hot debate on LinkedIn over the last couple of days between Walker Reynolds and Luke Small, I think it was, or somebody, about POCs and paid POCs or paying for software, paying for this or that.
I saw that.
It's a heated topic, right?
Hmm.
I personally am a huge fan of things that people can try out with low risk. Um, I also see that, when you just buy something, I do this a lot, something that's low barrier to entry, but then also is a low priority for me. It may never get used. So there's pros and cons to that. But personally, I think, especially in this industry, we've kind of been gated from so many things for so long. I love the idea of just being able to try something on a small scale before
Hmm.
having to do a plant-wide implementation or something like that. Oh, I want to just throw up a little bit. Sorry, Chris, you're now sitting in the back seat listening to me. It's the Nikki show. But Arlen Nepper says it took Andy and I 4 months to create the first version of MQTT. Took 18 months to convince the IBM lawyers at the time to keep it open. Very, very nice MQTT endpoint. Thank you, Arlen. And apparently he was 16
Thanks,
years
Arlen.
old when he co-invented MQTT. So hey, we're learning all kinds of stuff during this demo today. This is what I love about our community. However, I don't know how we deserve that we put this together and people actually pay attention. But the fact that people that actually know something are here talking to each other as well. That I think is one of the biggest values of what we're doing. Not what I'm saying or but we getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Our technologies, our careers, the things we do. We get to know each other as people a little bit, and then the business, we see each other in person at trainings, at conferences. I love it.
Yeah, we need to go to more conferences. We're actually going to be going to a conference in March. The what? Model-based engineering and QIF. That's at MDX here in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Never
And
heard of it.
they're having a conference, and we're gonna be exhibiting SHARC. They're gonna have like 10 tables or something outside the conference. So we'll have the SHARC there as well with various different demonstrations while we're there. Maybe
Cool.
maybe we'll hand out a SHARC or two while we're there too.
Yeah, if you wanna, you can. So because this lives forever, the comments, like if people watch it later, they can still add to the discussion to the comments. I would suggest drop links to any upcoming events you guys have. If people can come to that event, drop a link somewhere in the comments of this discussion later on. And we can also post if you have invitations or stuff like that. We love to support everybody in getting together, seeing this stuff in person. Oh, we got some more cool comments. Thank you. Trace, I'm not sure how to say that, but cool name. Very cool product. Great job. We appreciate it. Positive feedback. I mean, we all work really hard, right? And sometimes you got those days that get you down. It never hurts to give some people some positive feedback. It means a lot. It really does.
And we're open to criticism too. I mean, I think everybody. I value the opinions of others so that we might make a better product. So
yeah. So give them your feedback. And also just those feature requests and stuff, right? You're not gonna maybe implement them all, and definitely not right away. But it's really good to know kind of what people are thinking out there, what they're looking for.
yeah, Richard Shaw's is in the mail. Yeah, we sent his earlier this week.
Cool. So any other points or things about the SHARC that you want to mention that we didn't cover?
Not that I have. Chris, anything before I wrap it up? Good job.
Yeah, great job. And thank you, other Chris, for answering some of the more nuanced questions in the comments as well. I think we've got all the questions covered.
Thank you, guy who does whatever we want him to do.
Yes, he chimed in as well. Thank you. With a link, I think, to the gifts that we were missing. I also want to throw this out there, a plug for QuoteBeam. I will also drop a link in the comments if you want to buy this device. You can do it from Mr. IIoT's website. We will make sure to include a link to that. You can also buy it on quotebeam.com. Very excited to have this up.
Yeah, we are too. Thank you.
It may at the moment say request a quote. It should change later on if it hasn't already to display the price, which is $3.99, correct?
That's correct.
Yep. So simple, not too expensive, easy to get a hold of. They are currently in stock, although act fast because there's only a limited number still in stock. What do you think is the lead time if we run out of the current stock that you have for the next batch?
I think it was 6 weeks.
Okay, not too bad.
So we started an order for another 100 yesterday. So that process has begun. So I think we have, I don't know, 20 of them right now. So we have another 100 coming in 6 weeks.
Awesome. So if anybody wants, if you're already a QuoteBeam customer, you got net terms, perfect. You can just grab one, pay for it later. If you're new to QuoteBeam and you don't yet have terms and you want some, just ask us. And if you want to buy it directly from those guys as well, I'm a biggest proponent of letting people, buy things however they want to. So we are very excited to bring this to you. If you buy it after having seen it on Automation Ladies, please let somebody know, because that would be super cool. And then also let us know what you think of it. And if you have any, reviews, if you want to come demo your application that you used it for, that would also be super cool as a follow-up.
Yeah.
So I guess then my last question would be, aside from what I just said, what resources do you want people to know about? Where can they find you? Where can they, if they want to work with you, should they be following you on LinkedIn? Tell us all the places and all the things, and then we can drop links in the show notes as well as in the comments for those things.
Yeah, I'm probably not millennial enough to be like, subscribe.
I know I never say that, but I should, because apparently that makes people actually subscribe to things.
Yeah.
We do have a YouTube channel.
We do have a YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. We're on LinkedIn. Chris and I watch LinkedIn a lot. We're actually on the the Industry 4.0 Discord channel as well. Chris is very active in there. And you can come onto our website and contact us through there as well if you need to.
All right. Then I think that's a wrap. And I will selfishly call this a huge success for our first demo. I loved it.
All right.
And
Thank you
that's
so
what
much
we
for
do our
having us.
content for, is for you guys in our community, but ultimately it's whatever me and Allie and Courtney want. And this was spot on exactly what we wanted to see. So thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
I
for
look
having us.
forward to watching the SHARC grow and see it installed in more places and hear more stories about how awesome it is. So
Thank you.
have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.